So yeah, so I have to, girl, I gotta get this right. So it's been a couple of weeks now that like I've been preparing. So it's Thursday
Mm,
at 6 a.m.
congratulations.
Thank you, girl. Thank you.
Congrats. I want to be very respectful of your time. We're also live streaming on YouTube. So even if people are unable to join in now, we can still replay the live stream. And all we care about is just getting you here to get the conversation going. Okay.
I like
It's
that.
not about even the audience right now. It's about getting our main girl here for us to talk. So it's just going to be a conversation. It's going to be as if like you and I are on the call, nobody else, and we're just going to talk. Tu
I love,
comprends?
je comprends très bien, merci.
Okay, clock it, oui, oui. Alrighty. Good evening to everyone. Good afternoon, good morning, depending on where you're joining us from. My name is Mamadi here. I am a visionary mobilizer as well as the founding executive director of the Power of Love Foundation Canada. And today I am so excited to have, actually, before I introduce her, we have the series that we've been having ongoing called Women Within. And Women Within is basically a series where we bring together very strong, bold, immaculate. I say it immaculate because I see immaculate on the call right now. Immaculate, magnanimous women who are doing extraordinary things in the community and individually as well. And this is a series we've been having for the past a month or two, and it has been phenomenal. And today I have the pleasure of having someone I get to call my sister with us. She is incredible. She is the founder of Sisters in Sync. She also has businesses or a business that she's running. This lady here is a wealth of knowledge. There was one time I was sitting with her, and all I did was stare at her and say, "Girl, how do you know all this?" But I am so happy to have her in our midst. And we're going to learn a lot because she's been running her NGO for quite some time now. So we're going to learn a lot from her on how to start a business, run an NGO, and also get funding, right? Because you need money to run a business, you need money to run an NGO. So, with love and heart, let's welcome the beautiful Joelle Cabisoso.
Oh, thanks for that introduction. I'm here blushing. Like, oh.
You deserve it. You've been working so hard.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. And I'm
You're
happy
very
to be here. So, again, thank you so much for the invitation.
always such a pleasure to have you. So, Joelle, we are getting to the end of the year right now. How are you feeling?
Girl, I am feeling, I wish there was like a different way to describe how tired I'm feeling. Like, I don't even think exhausted, tired could begin to sum up, but
Mm,
I'm feeling, although I'm feeling tired, I also feel very proud and fulfilled. I think this year has been a lot, but it has also given a lot. And
mm,
so I just am, yeah, really ending this year in a spirit of gratitude because I could not have anticipated or expected the year to go as it did. Don't get me wrong, it has been very challenging, like extremely challenging,
mm.
but all of the good made it so hard to dwell in those challenges. So I feel tired, but extremely grateful nonetheless.
What was your highlight of 2025?
Oh my gosh, I've been thinking about this question just because I'm like, I know people are going to ask this because it's the end of the year. The highlight of 20, honestly, my highlight was not being petty on social media. I like genuinely like there's been some things that people have put me through this year and not being petty and like just unleashing on social media that I'm the most proud of. I'm growing. I'm growing.
Mention one thing to me that made you feel like you were literally on the verge. You had your phone, you had it typed out, you just had to hit send. What is the
Oh,
most memorable thing someone did to you this year that made you almost go bonkers?
girl, my contractor, let me just put that there. My contractor.
For what?
So by God's grace, we were able to get a physical office in the city. So we're able to, host programs, have girls just have a place where, they could just relax, like almost that
Hmm.
third space. It's not
Hmm.
school, it's not home. It's safe, it's inviting. I'm just finding out that, I mean, granted, she didn't really complete the project, but I'm finding out that she also didn't pay people. So people have been looking for me asking for their money. And imagine my surprise when they're coming to knock at her door, being like, "You owe me money." And I'm like, "I don't know what you're talking about because I paid, right?" So, yeah.
That's messed up because someone could have easily gone on social media and cussed you
Dragging
out
me,
and your organization in the money.
exactly. And all my invoices are showing as cleared and paid. So it's been frustrating, but you know what? I've spared her for as much and as long as I can. So I'm very proud of myself. But we
Congratulations.
also still have like 30 more days, 28 days left in the year. So,
Congratulations on keeping yourself together. So now let's go back. When did you start Sisters in Sync, which is your baby?
oh, yeah, she's my baby. She's a teenager now. Her and we butt heads, but I love her nonetheless. I started Sisters in Sync in 2018. So this
Okay.
was shortly after I graduated university. I had the opportunity to be a part of a campaign called Violence 360 that really highlighted some of like the issues accessing services or even providing services to victims of violence.
Mm,
So it was kind of the catalyst that really allowed me to create Sisters in Sync without even knowing that
mm,
that was in my future.
mm. And the name of the organization sounds interesting. What made you go for the name Sisters in Sync?
Yes, I love when people ask me that question. So, my story, I'm not going to share it because I don't think this is the purpose of this, but I had gone
Oh
through a
no,
very,
you can go ahead, girl.
oh, I don't want to. They can, we can have another time. Today's about the nonprofit. It's not about the healing and the trauma. But yeah, go ahead.
Okay. No, no, you go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. So yes, I had gone really through something really traumatic. And
Mm,
after sharing my story, a lot of
mm,
women were messaging me talking about, they've either gone through something like this or they've
mm,
experienced this. And it wasn't just, Black girls and women. It wasn't just girls or women that were my age at the time. I
mm,
had like 60-year-olds telling me that when they were younger, this and this happened to them. And so I
mm,
started to think about, and like I said, I didn't know that this organization was in my future, but as people were sharing, they started to ask me, do you have a group? Do you have a platform? Like, how do you
mm,
support women? And I'm like,
mm,
what are you talking about?
mm,
But for me, it was the simple fact that many of us had gone through similar experiences at
mm,
different stages of our lives that kept us connected, right?
mm,
Whether we knew each other or not. And so I started to ask myself, like, what is a way to describe that experience of being connected, of being, kind of intertwined in our journeys? Because there are certain things that, maybe somebody is going through in motherhood that I'm not a mother now, but eventually I will go through it, right? And so that's where Sisters in Sync came, because being in sync, that idea of like, we're in sync, we're connected, our experiences, whatever stages it's at, has that intersection and has that kind of shared knowledge that we could pass on. Was, yeah, how I came with the name. I was like, we're Sisters in Sync. But actually, before that, I wanted the organization to focus on period poverty. And so
mm,
when I was thinking about like, oh yeah, when me and my friends say we sync up, right? When you're like with your girlfriend for too long and now all of a sudden you get the same symptoms, you get period at
right,
the same time. So that's
right.
also where the name came, was that idea of like being in sync, syncing up with each
Mm.
other.
That's so good. Well, thank you so much. If you just joined us, we are having an amazing conversation with the beautiful Joelle Cabisoso. She's the founder of Sisters in Sync, which is a thriving not-for-profit organization here in Hamilton, Ontario. And she is so knowledgeable when it comes to building businesses, NGOs, organizations, funding, and so on. And we're going to get into all that because as someone who has an organization myself, I get questions on a daily basis. How did you start your organization? What do you do? How do you structure it? How do you guys get funding? How do you set it up? And sometimes I don't have all the answers. So I said, why don't we bring someone who has more experience than I am, to be very honest, and can share her knowledge with us as well. If Nanaya is here, Nanaya is one of my team members. I would love if you could please share Sisters in Sync website in the chat box so that we can have people take a look at what Joelle has been leading in our community so that it puts, an identity to the conversation we're having. And Joelle, one of the things that you made mention in terms of what sparked your interest to start this organization seems to come to mind about a common purpose. Because for me, starting Power of Love, it stemmed from, an 18-year-old Ghanaian girl who committed suicide in
Mm,
Toronto. And at that moment, I literally heard the Holy Spirit, because we're Christians, right, say that if you do not start this organization, many other women are going to pass away just like she did. So for me, that was the urge that lighted me up. Thank you so much, Nanaya. That lighted me up to be like, you know what? We need to set up this organization to support other young women and girls. And equally, you have said you had a traumatic experience. So what comes into mind is that in order to start an organization, there has to be a drive. If
mhm.
I'm getting it right, like a drive, something that drives you, a passion, a purpose that makes you feel like, you know what, I'm doing this to serve my community. Would you agree?
100%. And even on top of that, I always tell people that you don't always have to be motivated by something tragic, right? I think a lot
Mm,
of the times people think that in starting an NGO or an organization or even just a space for folks, that
mm,
you yourself personally need to have gone through something that's like life shattering or know somebody
mm,
that's gone
mm,
through something like that for it to be impactful, for people to listen and for people to care. And
mm,
the reality is that's just not the case, right? So we
mm,
have people who may not be starting things, whether God is calling them or it's a passion, because they don't feel like, well, it's not as like catchy or it's not as traumatic as this thing, and are people gonna
yeah.
care? No, if it's been put in you, just do it. But find that purpose, find that reason, and don't let it just be trauma.
You just said something that is so powerful. Just do it. And I think that one of the reasons why a lot of people do not want to start a business or organization is because of fear,
Hmm.
right? It could be fear, it could be procrastination, whatever it is. My own, I'll tell you as we talk, my own was a threat from God, by the way.
You never
Did
want to
you?
get it to that point, girl. You
No,
gotta leave the first time.
I told you was. I'm not gonna tell you again. For you, were you also scared when you were going to start Sisters in Sync, or it came naturally to you?
You know what? I wasn't scared.
Oh,
I
why?
wasn't scared because of the way that God orchestrated everything. So
Mm,
when I had gone through my incident when I was 18, sorry,
mm,
17, I had never told anybody, right?
wow.
And in 2017, I was at a women's luncheon with my mom and a bunch of other women from our church. And, I'm going through this thing for 5 years by myself. Nobody really knows what happened to me. Nobody really knows, you know, the reality of the situation. And so the pastor ends up asking us, is there anything, because this was around October. So she goes, is there anybody here that wants to share about what God has done for them? And I had just graduated, so I was happy. I was like, I am done with university. Let me tell the whole world, I wanted to flaunt my degree. I wanted to, show how proud I was for having gone through those 4 years of university, away from my family. And so when I got on stage, I started to talk about, yeah, university was difficult. I'm just grateful to God that I'm able to graduate. And then all of a sudden, it was like an out of body experience. I started to tell them what had happened to me. And I'm like, I contemplated suicide. So the fact that I'm here, I had planned to commit suicide in April after I graduated from university, because in my mind, I'm like, everything I've gone through, at least if I leave, I'm leaving my parents with something for them to be proud of. And so I guess in an unknowing manner for me, it was October of 2017. And so my plan was for April. So not even realizing that I had outlived, the time that I had put. And so I just started to talk and saying, I'm grateful to God because of this, 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 this. When I was 17, this has happened. And then I paused and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the first time I'm telling my mom. This is the first time people are hearing about this experience. And I knew I was dying with this secret. Like, even if I lived to be 100, no one would know what happened. And I told them. And a couple of weeks later, a lady that I had never met before, that we wouldn't even have been in the same circle. Like, she wouldn't even have been at that retreat or known anybody at that retreat because she was like in her 20s and everybody at the luncheon were like in their 40s and their 50s. So there was no way that they would connect. I get an email of somebody being like, hey, we're reaching out to you because you've been highly recommended. And at this point, the most thing I've done is like volunteer when I was younger. I've not done anything, to my knowledge, impactful in the community. I've not done anything that would warrant somebody messaging me asking me to help them with the campaign. So that's when the folks reached out for the campaign through the Black Youth Action Plan. And then we were just talking and they're like, "Oh, do you by chance know anybody that we can highlight for this campaign? We're looking for people who've gone through experiences of violence and how they've overcome, or even maybe they're not overcome it." And I'm like, no, I don't know anybody. I'm so sorry, but like I can volunteer if you need me to open a door or, whatever. And the lady just goes, do you by chance have an experience that you've gone through if you're okay to share? And I'm like, oh yeah, this and this happened. And that's kind of how everything opened up, right? So I always say that it wasn't me because I never intended to do this. So when everything happened and I got to do the campaign, I was never scared because I knew that I would stop at the campaign. I knew that there was nothing else. And
Beyond that.
so when people started to just ask, I'm like, okay, let me try it. But my plan was I would do something once a year and call it a day. So there was no fear because I knew that it would be once a day. But I think over the years, as God has turned this into like a once a year initiative, into literally having a team, having an office space, traveling, and all of that, now I'm scared. Now I'm scared because I'm like, God, I'm not equipped for this. I was supposed to be a
Mm,
family mediator. I was supposed to help people through their divorce, not all of this, right? So I think because I want to steward this so well, because I want to make sure that, we're transparent, that we're authentic, this is not where the fear is. So it feels like I'm at the top of the mountain, but
mm,
I'm so scared. And so sometimes
mm.
I'm like, I prefer when we were nobody. I prefer when I was doing one thing at a time because now I am so scared. But the thing with me and fear is I'm gonna do it anyways because I can't let fear win. Like my ego is way too big for that. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
Let fear, something that's not even a person. No, I
Mm,
can't. I can't.
mm.
So
I
I'm now
love it.
scared than ever. And it's
Mm.
interesting because there's the audience, there's the support, there's the backing. So I know this cannot fail. So it's like interesting that I wasn't as scared in the beginning
Mm.
as scared as I am right now.
Mm. Your statement reminded me of the verse where, or the phrase that says, "To whom much is given, much is required." And from everything you're saying, it's like you understand the mandate in which you're called into
Mm,
and the requirement of that mandate. And as a result of that, even though the mandate seems heavy, you will walk through that mandate. Now, I'm sure there's this question that's going through the minds of my mind and the minds of many people. With this story that you might not want to share right now, where can we see the story? Because I'm sitting down like, this girl is putting me through a roller coaster of emotions. Where can we read, watch, hear to connect it? Because we're going to move on. Before we get into the whole business strategy,
yeah.
I just wanted people to understand who you are, to
Mhm,
to
mhm.
put the pieces together. So we're going to get into the business. It's just like every interview.
Of
If the
course.
first question is, tell us about yourself. So that's why I'm creating the building blocks. But
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can humbly, you can Google me humbly. And And the
With all
story
humility.
with all humility, and it will pop up honestly everywhere. So there's videos of it on YouTube. There's news articles through the
Okay.
Hamilton Spectator.
Okay.
Um, there's even a video, actually, a reel on my Instagram that actually, in the most dramatic, theatrical way, shares the story from start to finish. So I would say like those are really some of the good places to hear it unfiltered. Yeah, and yeah, you could read it, you could hear about it, you can make your own, assumptions on it. But and honestly, like if you just Google my name, I'm sure there will be some videos, some podcasts, different mediums where the story is shared.
Thank you. Really appreciate that. And respectfully, we respect your decision for not to share it right now. So now let's move on. Normally, the notion for a lot of people is when you're starting an NGO or a business,
Mm.
you need money to do it. And normally when I get people asking me about, NGOs and how we run our events and programs at Polka, the first question is, do you need money to really start? But before we go on to that, what's the name of the other business that you have? I know you have like a language translation app, right?
Yes, yes.
Can you
So
talk
I
a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I have a language app. So think Duolingo, think Rosetta Stone meets Instagram or YouTube. So it's called Yekola, which means to learn in my mother tongue, which is Lingala. And what we wanted to do was like I'm born in Congo, but I left when I was like 4. So
Mm,
I grew up in Canada. I speak English and barely French, but I speak English and French. And so over the pandemic, I just felt like there was a huge disconnect between me and my culture, right? I
mm,
love my Nigerians and my Ghanaian because it doesn't matter if you've been in a different country for 40 years, you will speak your mother tongue, you will
mhm,
switch into your accent, when you need to. And I was like, I felt left out. Even with my cousins and people in my community, I was just like, I can't speak Lingala. I understand very fluently, so I could
mhm,
translate for people. I could, throw some words here and there, but speaking, it was just not my thing. And
mm,
so my sisters ended up posting a Lingala challenge on YouTube that
mm,
went very viral, but not the viral that you would expect. It was more so
mm,
people dragging them for not being able to speak their language. It was people, like trying to take their Congolese card away from them. It was just a lot. And the empath that I am, I was like, oh, you guys, like, let's not do this. Let's not do this. We were already taking classes as a family. One of our
mhm,
cousins was offering it to us. So I was like, you know what? Let me invite people because despite the negativity, there were some people who were like, I also am Congolese. I live in Spain and I don't really speak. I wish there was somewhere. So
right.
we started to invite people into our family Zoom sessions,
Mm,
and that grew so much, I think to like
mm,
300 people within the
wow.
first like 60 days, something
Wow.
ridiculous like that. And so it became hard to manage. I was like, we're on Zoom, like this is a lot to manage. And so that's where the app was created because people were saying that they were tired of using apps that just taught them games, right? They're like,
Mm,
I don't want to play games. I want to speak with real people. I want to meet
mm,
up with real people. And so
mm.
with the app, and also like on these Duolingos, they don't have African languages, right? They have like
Right.
they have this
Portuguese,
made up
French.
language. Yeah, all of these things before they have some African languages. So that's
Uh,
when we started to create it. We started to pitch, very successful in terms of like the amount of funding that we were able to get. And yeah, so now we're here. We're almost launching, which is
that's amazing.
a different battle. But yeah.
Speaking of pitch, so let's say, for example, someone has a business idea, they want to
Mhm.
start a business and so on. Can you walk us through how to pitch a business idea? Because normally I think the ones I've seen you at outside of the pitch competitions, how do you effectively pitch an idea to an organization, a different business to
Mhm.
receive funding or to receive a capital?
The first thing that I always say is just be yourself. You would be surprised by how many opportunities, how many funding, how many grants I've received just because people were like, I love the way you talk. You might have not made sense, but man, you were funny or you were great, you know? I had somebody reached out because they saw an interview I did. They were like, I loved it so much. Like, and I want to see how we can support you. I was like, yeah, like these are ways, $30,000. And they were like, yeah, honestly, it was your
Excuse
personality.
me? Well
Yeah.
up, well up. Hold on, hold on, hold on. Let me position my mic well. Somebody, I had to switch from my Canadian to my African
You see
accent
why I
because
love you people? Because I'm here like I could never. There's
no,
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 I
no.
will
I
just
have
sound
to
like
make it make
English.
sense. Just the interview like you and I are doing. Somebody saw it posted online,
Yeah.
and the person said, "Oh, I like the way you are funny,
Mm-hmm.
the way you are talking.
Mm-hmm.
So here, 30,000."
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
It was before Carney dollars, girl. Don't. I don't know if that was,
Oh,
but
Jesus.
yeah, it
Please,
was.
which oil did you use? Did you use? Do Congolese? Do you put anointing oil on yourself?
You know what? You should go ask the Nigerian coach because didn't you see he accused the Congolese
It's
coach of
okay. It's
voodoo
okay.
and
It's okay.
he
You
was just praying,
let's stay
So
focused. I don't want any
but
drama.
go ask him because
I don't want
apparently
no
there's an
drama.
anointing that scares people.
30,000 carny dollars, like Nana Yaha said,
Hmm.
just by putting yourself out there.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Continue.
So I've noticed that that has really been a theme. So, but the biggest thing is don't say too much, right? Sometimes
Mm,
when you are in a position where you know that you have to pitch yourself, you know that you have money on the line, you will want to tell them every single thing. My app can do this, oh, and then my app can do, and it's like now they're feeling overwhelmed, right? And you also have to remember a lot of the times you have about 2 to 3 minute
3 minutes.
5 minutes. Like that's, I've never even seen 5 minutes, but 2 to 3 minutes to really pitch yourself. So if you are thinking, I need to give them all the information possible, you're not actually allowing them to imagine themselves using your app. Yeah, you're not
Mm,
allowing the, or whatever your
your
business is.
business.
You're
Yeah,
not
yeah.
allowing them to be curious or want
Hmm.
to know a little bit more, right? So you have to give them just enough that makes them feel connected. And so with my pitch for the app, one of the things that I always used to start with was what motivates someone to want to learn a language? Perhaps it's to travel the world, to reconnect with their roots, or to clack back at an auntie asking why you're still not married. And that brought people in because a lot of people could relate to that. Like I would have people come to me after the pitch and they're like, "Oh my gosh, girl, I'm so like literally if I can learn how to tell my mom to back up in my language, that would be amazing because they think getting married is the only thing, right? So that brought people
It was a
in.
hook.
It was a hook because now they're like, oh, where are we going? Because you know what? Yeah, I do want that auntie to suck. You know what I mean? So that in the first, not even 30 seconds, because if you got to add that in the first 30 seconds, you've lost people, right?
That's
So
right.
in my first 10 seconds, that was one of the things. The crowd would laugh, and then we would be able to now go in and tell them what the problem is, right? The problem is that a lot of youth in the diaspora don't,
Generation.
right? And then from there, you give them enough for them to be able to put themselves into the solution that you're trying to provide,
That's
right?
right. That's
Without
right.
having to tell them, yeah, but we plan to, no,
Yeah.
this is what the problem is. People want to reconnect or people want to clap back. This is what we're doing. This is how we can do it, right? And
So
then now
Joelle,
visually, yeah, you put yourself in.
normally people, so we're gonna get into the because what you're saying is an elevator pitch, right?
Yeah.
So we're gonna spend some time talking about how to strategize a good elevator pitch. But what of people who have the idea? The idea is great. Let's say they want to start a business. Normally, it's not even the lack of communication, it's where do we find the funders and investors? So, in your experience, how, besides going to pitch competitions, how have you been able to find some of these people? Where do we find them?
Girl, you have to be chronically online. You have no choice. And you have to be online, right? Not the issue that sometimes people find themselves in is the minute you, let's say, have an idea and you want to start something, the first thing people go to is let me hire somebody to do it for me,
Hmm.
right? And so now let's say because you carry the ED title, you're
Mm,
like, I need somebody to be in comms for me. I need somebody to be
mm,
in fundraising,
mm,
that you actually don't allow yourself to understand the landscape. up until this point, I write all of our grants. I make sure that I'm researching. Yes, I have a fundraising and partnership coordinator, but I still need to make sure that I understand what my baby needs, right? That may be the auntie, that may be the grandma, that may be, the nanny. She may understand, but she won't know this organization like I do, right? And we didn't start, we started the organization in 2018 and didn't get our first grant until 2020. That was the first
Two
time we
years.
ever got it because
How
I
much
didn't,
was your first grant?
our first grant was, I think it was like $80,000.
Hey, Joel, you're making money. Guys, people are making. Joel, show what's the highest grant you guys have gotten?
You know what? You would be surprised. In 1 year, the highest grant that we've ever received was just under 200,000.
That's the
That's
money.
the, that's the highest. But the
But
thing is,
you get mini grants
yeah,
that combines to like so in 1 year, what has been a revenue, your average revenue for your organization in 1 year?
in 1 year, transparently, like 400 something.
Really?
Yeah.
But it looks like you guys be clocking it though.
You know
If
what it
you
is?
well,
It's
tell
because
me.
it's consistent, right? So we haven't yet received the 1 million that allows us to be like, we don't have to apply for grants 1 year. But it has been every year you get maybe 400,000, maybe you get 500, maybe, right?
Mm,
So that's one of the things that where we're at. We're still, and trust me, I always tell people, I don't plan to act like I know it, but
mm,
one thing for sure is I'm very consistent, right? So there will never be a year where we don't have grants, where we don't have money coming in, where we don't have an opportunity, even if we're not getting the big one at one chunk. So that is still something that we're working on, right? And a lot of it has also been, what is our vision, right? If we were to get this $1 million right now, how do we steward it? And that's very important for me. That's very,
what
like,
are we
that's one of my biggest
utilizing it
things.
for?
Yeah, because I've seen organizations get these big grants, and once it's done, because they don't know how to hustle, they don't know how
Yeah,
to continuously bring in different revenue streams, the organization stops
it's
right,
done.
right? It's
Mm,
done because
mm,
we were so happy
mm,
that we got
mm.
300,000 for the next
We
three
didn't
years.
hustle for the other ones.
Didn't hustle. We didn't put ourselves in position where we're building relationships because there's been grants that we haven't gotten approved for, but because I simply submitted it and built a relationship with the project manager because I was asking questions, and all of that, when I apply again, they remember me. Or when
Mm.
I check in on my status, they're like, oh, Joelle. Or if I didn't like this last week, somebody didn't see our name for a grant that was open. She calls me. She's like, hey girl, like you guys didn't apply for this grant. I didn't see your name.
You're kidding.
I swear to God. I was like, oh, I didn't even know it was out yet. She's like, yeah, like I was so shocked because I'm reading through the names and I'm like, oh, I would think Joelle was here. But it wasn't I know the person, but that specific grant wasn't even something I was aware of. So not only was she thinking about me, but now she's put in my radar another grant opportunity that when it opens next year, I will know, right? So, but I had built that relationship with her when she was working somewhere
Relationship
else.
building.
Yeah. So
That's
we
so
we we
amazing.
definitely are working our way, and I know that we're coming to that point of being able to now feel very comfortable and confident that we can get that really big one. But I had to hustle. Like I think God had to teach me how to be involved in my organization, right? I had to be the one to look. So I always tell people the best way to know what's going on is subscribe to newsletters, right? Because there may be certain things, and don't also always just look at the traditional places, because sometimes we'll just look at government for grants. We'll look at maybe community foundations, but even your favorite place to shop at has some grants that they give throughout the year, right?
Hmm.
So I subscribe to Lululemon's newsletter. I subscribe to Aries newsletter. I subscribe to like any business because one of the things that people forget is that a lot of businesses have a social responsibility, meaning that for tax purposes, but to also give back to the community, they have like a little nonprofit branch where they give out money to organizations, where they give out money to support, projects throughout the city. So I subscribe to that because even if they're not giving you 200,000 once a year, they're giving a call out to give 50,000. Another year, they're giving a call out to give 30,000, right? And so you want to know that the places that you are shopping at also is providing opportunities for you to be able to move the work that you're doing. And so that's like the biggest thing that I always tell people is the opportunities will not come to you unless you search for it, build those relationships, and then you will find that it's going to start coming to you.
And let the church say,
Amen.
Hallelujah. Wow. So we do have the beautiful Joelle Cabisoso with us. She is walking us through right now, currently, grant, should I say, grant access, as well as, business pitching and so on. And this has been so great. If you have any questions, feel free to drop it in the chat box, and I'll be more than happy to ask Joelle. So, Joelle, now let's go back. 2018, um, you started
Mhm.
the Sisters in Sync. Then you come into 2020, you get your first grant. Now, let's trace back. Most of the time, like I said, besides the funding, so for the whole 2 years, and this will help someone here who might have an organization in mind or want to start on an organization. And one
Mhm.
of the things that is limiting them is the feeling that they have to get a grant to do so. So how were you guys planning activities in the 2 year span? So if someone, or in other words, an organization does not have grants, or
Mhm.
someone wants to start a grassroots initiative or an organization, what can they do to sustain themselves before they get your first grant?
How do you take care of your baby?
Please, are you asking me?
Yes, Mama, answer me. How do you
If I
take
don't
care of
have a
your
baby
child?
now.
How would you take care of a child if you had one?
If I had one, depending on your age, but if I had a baby, obviously, clock it. But breastfeeding them.
Okay. What else? What else would
Are you
you
talking?
include?
What are you talking about in terms of food, or in
Yeah,
terms
the
of?
provision, right? You go to work. You use your money
Oh, that's what you're
to buy
talking about.
for your
Okay,
child, right?
okay,
So
income.
because
Yes.
I knew that Sisters in Sick was going to be my responsibility and my baby, and because at the time I did not know that grants existed,
Mm,
I went to work and used my own money. So every event, every initiative that we ever did for those 2 years,
was
I
out of
was
pocket.
it was out of pocket.
Makes
And
sense.
I think that part in that moment was very important because it shows the dedication, right? And they always
Mm,
say that too. Like, if you are not willing to put your own resources in something, why should I give you my resources? If you're not willing to go out of the way and say, you know what? Every year I'm going to put $2,000 aside so that I can do this initiative or I can give to this person or whatever
mm,
the cause might be. Why
mm,
would somebody else do that for you if you're not even
mm,
willing to do that? That shows, at least for me, that you don't trust what you're doing enough to
mm,
invest in it, right? So
mm,
for those 2 years, I would get a little paycheck, put something aside, and say, okay, this is what I can do. This is how I can show up. I somehow convinced a friend of mine to also put her money. So she started to give money at the end of the year, right?
mm,
And then
mm,
slowly from there, I started to like ask my family, like, hey, just give us $20. And then I understood, like, okay, maybe somebody might not want to give money, but what else can they do? So we
mm,
started to reach out
mm,
to spaces and be like, for instance, we used to do a prom drive where we would give prom dresses. I would be like, hey guys, we're collecting dresses. Like, if you can't donate, can you give
mm,
me a dress? And then that
mm,
started to come. So really not just being married to the idea of money, but what are some of the in-kind things that you can get people? Because sometimes people are more willing to say, I'll bake you cupcakes than I'll give you the money to go and buy it, right?
makes
So you
sense.
tap into those people. And that's what I used
Mm,
to do. I used to say, okay, if people can't give me money, I need to make sure I can put up a little bit of money and then from there, how do I convince people to give me stuff? Because to them, it's less of a value than if they
mm,
were to give me money. And so that's how we went for the first 2 years until we saw the opportunity with who was it? The Red Cross. And then it was
mm.
a grant opportunity. And I was nervous because I had no financial statements. I had nothing to show, right? But I'm
Right.
like, what can I lose?
What's the worst that could happen?
they're gonna reject me? No problem. I've been rejected. Like that's nothing, you know? So I applied and the project manager, I keep calling them project manager, the program manager actually reached out to me.
Wow.
I sent my application and she was like, hey girl, I brought this to our committee. They have a little concerns because you have no experience, but like there's just something about your application that I think you
Wow.
get funded. And I'm like, ma'am, how do you know me? You know? So
Mm.
here was this lady who had never met me, but she was like, if you can do this to improve and clarify this, I promise you I will push for your application at the committee. I was like, okay. So she
Wow.
walked me through how to answer some of the concerns that the committee
Mm.
had.
Mm.
Then maybe a week or two later, I received the email that my application was
Was
approved.
approved. That's
Yeah,
amazing. That's
yeah.
amazing. So we're getting to the key builders of an NGO and an organization. So first of all, you need your vision, like you mentioned, the purpose, the impact. You need to invest in it, not just relying on funding. But in the beginning, obviously, if you don't have grants, you have to
Mhm.
self-invest and even look at in-kind opportunities. Now let's come to another very important factor of, building an NGO, which is a team,
Mhm.
right? You were like, um, speak to us about how one can navigate in hiring good members for their business or their NGO. Because sometimes people feel the need that, oh, starting an NGO, I have to do it alone. That's not the
Mhm.
reality. You
Mhm.
cannot do it alone. And before I you answer this question, I always give this lady a shout out. Where's Nanaya? Nanaya, are you able to come on camera for us briefly? Where's my gorgeous Nanaya? Okay, she's here on camera. Okay, wonderful. Oh, where is it? Where is she? Let
I'm
me see her face. Oh, you see this girl right here? Everybody, all 90, almost 20 people. I want you to guys to show her love, applause, kisses. Nanaya is a real one.
Mhm.
Before Joelle, you go into your answer. Nanaya has been with me through the trenches since 2022. It's not easy having someone on your team who has seen your highs, who has seen your lows, who has seen it all, and chooses to stay. Even me, my organization, I don't even have the logo. Look at her on Zoom. She's repping it real hard. And I wanted to use this opportunity to say thank you, Nanaya. God bless you. Thank you for your diligence. Thank you for your sacrifice. I can call Nanaya at 2 a.m. This girl will
Don't do that
answer.
no more, but yes.
Oh, well, I'll still do it. She knows. I'll still do
Boundaries.
it.
Nana, boundaries.
I'll, that's why I love her because she knows that sometimes my ideas come at 3 a.m. Trust me, I've never called Nanaya at 3 a.m. But I say this to say that Nanaya, it's so. I've never seen anyone like Nanaya before. So dedicated, so consistent. Nanaya, thank you. God bless you for all you do for Power of Love, for all you do for the many women. People see me, but they don't know that Nanaya does doing the way. Me, I just be chilling. I just be, just be doing my thing. But Nanaya, God bless you. You know I love you so much. You know it. You are not going anywhere. If today you should tell me that you have gotten another opportunity, I'll take you to Atria. I'll take you to wherever it is. But I love you. God bless you. I just wanted to say that. Okay. Now, let's move on. Joelle,
Mm,
let's talk about the team building because it's
yeah.
not easy. It's
It is
not easy.
not easy at
How
all.
does
And I,
one build a strategic team for their organization and their business?
yeah, I love that you gave Nana her shout out because I have my own Nana and her name is Sylvia,
Mm,
white Polish girl. From we went to high school together. We met when we were working at the movie theaters. And
mm,
in 2018, when I was like, hey girl, like I want to do a prom drive. Can you help me? She's like, okay.
mm-hmm,
Ever since it's almost been what, 8 years? She's
Mm,
been consistent. She was
mm,
the friend that I somehow convinced to give money and put $2,000 here, $2,000 there. And mind you, none of us are rich, but we were just like, oh, we're just going to do it.
mm,
So it's like if you are able to have or find somebody like a Sylvia or a Nana in the beginning works, you have to treat those people well because
mm.
they help set the foundation and the tone for where you're going to go,
That's
right?
right. That's
And
right.
so team
That's right.
building, honestly, is one of those where initially you will not get it right. It might
Mm,
take you two, three, maybe five times before you're able to say, okay, this is the team that I want. And
mm,
one of the biggest reasons for that too is as nonprofits or NGOs that are starting off, you can't pay your team, right? You can't, you even yourself have to sacrifice sometimes when you get a grant and they don't cover costs for executive directors, or you know that you cannot do this specific thing and you have to, go on and get something. So you have to be very intentional, but you have to also understand what it is that you need. A lot of the times we just go based off of, oh, well, I just need this right now,
mm,
or I just need this because I saw this other organization and they have that. Have you
mm.
taken the time to, unfortunately, and maybe somebody else can disagree, but have you taken the time to play every role in your organization before you hire?
Wow.
Right? Because how can you hire somebody in your finance department and you don't know the first thing? You will wake up one day and find yourself owing money because you just trusted that that person is a finance person and everything
Mm,
that they tell you, but you don't go in and look in the account yourself. You don't know
mm.
how to process payroll. You don't know which taxes get deducted. Like, I have played every role in my organization before I ever hired somebody so that I could train you in the best way that I know that works for this organization while allowing you to also build your skill set, right? So some people, they just know that they need to hire a comms person, but they've never played comms. They know that they need to hire a finance person, but they've never played finance. They don't know, the process of this and of that. So that is like the starting point that I always encourage people is figure out your business or your organization inside out before you bring people in, because the
Mm.
people that you bring in can help elevate it or can help completely destroy your organization.
Very true.
And we know that the minute you let people in on anything, that could work in your advantage or your
Yes.
complete
Very true.
disadvantage.
Very
So
true.
that's kind of how I always operate. Before I knew that I could hire somebody, even trusting them as a volunteer, I had to figure out the landscape of the organization, right?
Mm,
Even with Sylvia, though we both started together literally at the same time, I had to learn things to help her understand how we were going to flow. And then
mm.
now, as we're growing, she's teaching me all these things. And I'm like, huh, how did we
Girl.
get here? Right?
Yeah.
But I knew that I had to set the tone and the fact, because people will play on you if they know that you don't know anything, right?
Can you repeat that?
Yeah, people will play on you if they know that you don't know anything. If you are showing your weakness, like, girl, we need a finance person so badly, like, I'm not good with money, $50 here every month, $50 there every month. You don't see $50 leaving when you have a
Mm,
lot of money in your account,
mm,
right? And then you find yourself at a place where you're like, wait a minute, why do we
mm,
owe? Why weren't the taxes paid? Right?
mm, mm,
So that is like the biggest thing. And
mm,
then also understanding who you're bringing onto your team, right? Maybe for someone like you or myself, we may have a lot of people that admire us and that admire the work that we're doing, right? For instance, sometimes I would hire people that were just happy to be working with me than actually doing their job. And I'm flattered. I'll give you an autograph. Let's take a picture. I'm kidding. I don't do that. But it's like it's flattery because you want to work with me, but you're also not doing the job, right? You're also not you're not performing well. So you have to be able to separate the maybe the admiration that somebody
mm,
might have, because
mm.
looking on the inside, a lot of people
Ooh.
tell us, wow, working at Sisters in Sick is so much fun. It is very fun. But baby, I'm gonna tell you, I'm militant. Like, girl, what do you mean you didn't send that? We'll have fun, but the emails I will send you
Oh
will
my
be
love.
like, I expect this at this time. And you know what I mean? Because you also need to create the boundaries and the structure so that they know that I can be your homegirl. That's not a problem because that's my
Yeah.
approach. But this
Yes.
is for is getting done,
It has
right?
to get done. That's
Yeah,
right.
and you need somebody that has a good balance of admiration for you, admiration for the organization, but also no nonsense and somebody that wants to do the job. Not just somebody that wants to get paid because you will pay for it. If
Mhm.
you're just hiring people that are like, I just need a job, they will show you that they just need a job, right?
Mm,
They
mm.
need to have the passion. Like right now,
That's
if I
right.
lost my whole team, I will be at war with God. Because what do you mean? You've given
Mm,
me such a great team that works
mm,
really well together, that understands. Like they will say, if I'm not in the room, they'll be like, no, 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 that's not up to Joel's standard. You know, they
mm.
will ask me questions before they even do something. They
That's
will
right.
be so careful. Sometimes I'm like, how much do I pay you? You know, because of how they show up, right?
That's right.
And so it's really important that you are not just looking at filling a role, but you're
Mm,
looking at somebody who understands. But you also have to be very selfless. When I hire people on my team, I'm like, how can we benefit you? You want to create your own position name? No problem. Oh, because it aligns more with your degree and what you
mm,
sure, right? Half of
mm,
the names
mm,
on my team, they've
mm.
created it themselves because
Wow.
like, well, I know that if, let's say, I don't stay with you forever, I want
Wow.
to be able to take the experience here so that it
Wow.
helps me with whatever, right? And that's
Amazing.
one of the biggest things I say. I'm like, I may be hiring for a fundraiser, but what's
Mm,
a role name that works best for you? Because
that's
then
incredible.
they feel like you actually care, which I
That's
do. I
right.
always tell them, I'm like this weekend I'm traveling to Ottawa for work and I'm like, who wants to come because I think it's a great learning opportunity, right? So
Wow.
really making sure that your team sees that you're thinking of them in
Mm,
everything that you do more than you're just taking from them because
mm,
that's their brain capacity. That's
mm,
their, all of that. Um,
mhm.
yeah, those are kind of the biggest things in building a team is like you understanding your organization inside out, what the roles are, and then hiring not because you are desperate because they will see it, but because you have a vision,
Ooh.
right? Because you have a
Mm,
vision and you
mm.
want that vision executed, but
That's
also not
amazing.
being selfish in how
Mm,
you hire so that it's just me, me, me. I've had to see people leave the organization because now they got a better job, but they credit us for giving them the opportunity to develop the skills. And
that's
I'm okay with
amazing.
that. I always tell people right now, I may not be able to pay you what you need, but if I can give you something that even if you were to leave today, I'm happy because
Hmm.
at least you're not leaving being like, oh my gosh, that was such a waste of my time.
Hmm. You know, it reminds me of a quote that my mentor, Professor Budi Nyamicha, always says. He says, leave people, what does he say? He says, make sure people leave you better than
Mm-hmm.
when they first met you,
Exactly.
right? And I think that's exactly what you're basically insinuating here. So
Mhm.
thank you very much. Now, as we go to the final stages of our conversation today, it's been so good, sis. What are some, so we've talked about the mission, the vision, we've talked about the team. What are some other pillars and
Mhm.
key things? And I'm very big on pillars. Um, what are some pillars that sustain an organization?
Mhm.
Because I've noticed that a lot of people in this era of everyone wanting to be independent and everyone wanted to have something of their own and start something on their own, it's easy to start anything. But what matters most is how we're able to manage and sustain it.
Yeah.
What are the pillars that sustain an organization for 5 plus years, 10 plus years, and keeps them going in varying areas? But what are the pillars that holds an organization together?
You know what? A leader that is okay with following, right? A leader that is
Ah,
okay with being led, because there's certain things that you will not know, right? And
that's
I
right.
think a lot of the time, some of our biggest downfall is we want to show our titles so badly. We want
Mm,
people to know that I'm the executive director, that I'm the founder, that I'm the leader, that you are almost preventing yourself from actually learning. I
mm,
learned so much from my team that I'm like,
mm.
wow, like, I'm always like, you could be ED when I leave, or you know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
they teach me so much. I
Mm,
know my organization. I know what I want it to be, but I may not necessarily know how to get it. I may
mm,
not necessarily know what avenue and I'm okay with saying that,
mm,
right? So being able to be led is so, so important. Like there was a time when I humbled myself and I said, I'm going to go work this job because I know that this organization does so much work that I could learn from them.
That's right.
I went and I worked there. I endured. I said, Jesus, 1 year. But then I came back and I was able to say, okay, this is how they do it. This is how they do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I was willing to put myself in a position where now I was being taught, where now I was being led. And even in the organization, there are things that people are teaching me that I'm like, I honestly wouldn't have thought of it that way. I
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't have been able to do that. And along with that being led transparency, right? You have to be transparent, especially when you're doing an organization, because a lot of the times it's like public funds, right? It's people's personal money that they're giving you. Being transparent. I did not realize how sharing the ups and the downs of this of running an organization actually opens more doors. At first, I used to think, oh, if I tell people we're struggling in this area, they're not going to trust us. They're not.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, in alignment with the personality, there's been times when I was like, oh my gosh, I don't even know how like we're gonna do this program.
Mm-hmm.
And boom, they're like, oh, well, we have $10,000. Like, will that help with something? Oh, so they're right. Closed mouths don't get fed, right? But having a level of like transparency and vulnerability that also allows people to be in the journey, because I don't try to make it seem like we have it all together. I let people in on our journey. Like right now we're fundraising for what is it
Is it
called?
Giving Tuesday?
For Giving Tuesday, right? That is inviting people to be in our journey. We fundraise in the first hour more than we actually thought we would, right? And it's climbing and
Wow.
climbing and climbing,
Wow.
but really allowing people to be in your journey. Right now, we're redoing our office. I take people on that journey, right? I've let people
Yeah.
know without maybe going into too much details that, yeah, like this has been so stressful doing this organization, that it has been stressful going through the renovation process. But people want to feel like they're a part of the journey. They don't want you to just come out and show them that you're successful and now they have to talk to you through an assistant. They want
Mm,
to be a part of that journey, especially when you know that you're going to rely on their funding or their money more
mm,
than anything, right? So those are my three pillars: being able to be led,
one.
being vulnerable. You
Transparent, too.
said, yeah, vulnerable and transparent. And the last one is being open to failing. Like that is such a huge, huge, huge pillar. And I think anybody will say that. Like if you are so focused on being so successful that you can't anticipate a failure somewhere, you will fail actually 10 times worse. So I always keep myself very practical. I'm like, you know what, right now, month to month, we have our grants because we know with government changing, today you may have
Mm.
your 1 million government funding, but maybe the government, maybe Carney's like, oh, I don't like y'all like that. And he pulls your funding away, right? So you have to be prepared to fail at any moment so that you don't get too comfortable in your successes, so that you don't get too comfortable to a point where it's almost like arrogant. You're just like, we are always going to be good. We are always, no, because then when that failure or that whatever sneaks up on you, how are you going to manage that? Are you somebody that's going to have quick conflict resolution, or you're going to really be like, oh, I wasn't anticipating that. So I'm always anticipating the worst while preparing for the best. I'm planning for 15 years down the line. I'm like, next year we are going to open a satellite office in South Africa. I don't have the money, but I'm preparing for it, right? But I'm also preparing for the fact that like anything can happen and
Did
that
you say
might,
satellite office in South Africa?
yeah, that's because I dream too much, girl. Like sometimes I
No,
just need to,
that's good.
but but I'm also preparing myself for, even if I open that, I don't have technically the staff or the money to do it. So it could not work. It could fail, right? But I'm still moving forward with my plans. I'm still like, okay, God, we're right. So you have to still have those goals, but still know that failure can happen. We are opening like a group in Ottawa, a group of ambassadors. I mean, maybe some of them are here. I'm like, I actually don't have the money to do some of the programs that are there, but I'm still going to set up a team, right? And however I can support that team right now as we build, that's going to happen. And it may be that the plan doesn't work, and I'm preparing for that as well, right? So don't just stay thinking that you're going to be winning, because even us, like this year has been the year where we've gotten the least amount of funding. But I'm still like, okay. we can, do this, we can figure this out, we can start maybe taking contracts, we can start selling courses here and doing this and that, because you have to know that like your winning season will not always be there, right? So yeah, that's one of the pillars too, is like plan for failure because it's inevitable.
I am amazed by your brain. Can I say that?
You're
I
amazed.
am.
I'm exhausted. Do you know when you're
No,
trying to sleep and you're just thinking about too many things and you wake up, and to your point, like I'll call my team. They know, they're like, you don't sleep. So at 5 a.m. they already expect messages from me. But they'll be like, wow, you didn't send me a message at 5. I'm like, no, girl, I actually
I don't
slept.
know why Nanaya is laughing. Nanaya says Nanaya alleges that I don't sleep, but I really sleep. I sleep a lot. She says I don't sleep at 2 a.m. But yeah. But anyways, but I am honestly I'm amazed by how big you dream, how forward thinking you are. If you were Nigerian, I would have said it's in your blood, but you're Congolese.
Oh, come on now. It might be in my blood too. Maybe I'm a different type of Congolese.
You're Congolese. Not to say Congolese people are not
No,
driven.
I
They
get
are.
what you're
They're
saying. I
similar
get
to
what you're saying.
Nigerians. But as we wrap up this, I'm really, really curious to know, were you always like this big dreamer, or something pushed you to become like that? Or do you read, or do you just sit down and just dream big? What is
Well, you
explain to
know
me what goes
what?
on in your mind?
I feel a little bamboozled, if I'm being quite honest, because I was like, I'm supposed to be a housewife. I'm supposed to just
You
be
wanted
the,
to be a housewife.
yeah, like I was like, I should be just spending my man's money.
Clock
But
it.
now I have to work. So very bamboozled. But I think I was always like that without really knowing.
Okay.
I remember a couple years ago, I was looking at pictures of like me as a child. And in one of the pictures in the back, my brother wrote, my sister Joelle, she talks so much, but she's so creative. And I
Hmm.
was like, okay, like the shade with the compliment, I like that.
Backhanded.
I was like, oh, it's a little something, something. But I think when I look back, I was always leading, right?
Hmm.
Sometimes I'm like, maybe I'm just a control freak and I want to control everything. But I found that a lot of the times it was my way of like letting out, right? So I always knew
Hmm.
that I would do something, but I never expected it to be this way. I
That's
like
big.
genuinely, I thought I would be very traditional in
Hmm.
the way that I approached my career. Like I
Hmm.
didn't even know that having a speaking engagements was a career. I didn't know that I could pay my bills with that. I
Hmm.
didn't know that people would want me to consult on policy, right? I was very reserved because I was just like I didn't know what was out there, right? But I always had ideas. Like I was always thinking about what's the next thing we can do for Christmas and how can I do this and how can I do that? And it just manifests itself differently right now, I guess, in this stage of my life. So I knew, and I knew too because one of my best friends when we were younger was like, I can't wait to be your assistant when we grow up. So I was like, okay, there must be
Wow.
something about me,
You,
that
yeah.
makes her feel like that. And so yeah, here we are. Like I cannot see myself. I mean, I still work a full-time traditional job, but that's only because I like money. But I wouldn't have expected me to be in this position, to be in a place where, I can travel to work, I can think about these things, I can start making plans. But also I'm fearless, right? In a sense,
Yeah.
although
I
I'm
love that.
scared of where we are right now because it's so big, but
Yeah.
at the same time, I'm like, what's the worst that can happen? Like, what are you gonna do? Embarrass me? Like, I'm very much like it's not that deep. Like,
I
you'll
love
move
it.
on.
I love it. I love how, if there's anything I'm taking out of this conversation, is how big of a dreamer you are, how
Yeah.
fearless you are, how much of a go-getter you are. Irrespective of how big it looks like, you still go for it. Now, I'm
Mhm.
going to ask one final question before we drop, and I'm sure that there's somebody on this line that wants to know, baby girl, are you single?
You know what? Unfortunately,
You're
and I
single.
say unfortunately, but it's also my problem, like my fault. Yeah.
Why?
Because I just like I don't put myself out there. I genuinely, I really don't. Like I've had people tell me that like, they don't really see my personality outside of work, which I'm like, I feel like I'm both. Like
Yeah.
I'm well all around. And that's also what people say. They love that I'm very unconventional. But yeah, I'm single.
What's your
Ready?
ideal man?
So, I don't really have an ideal man in a sense where like I'm genuinely open. I am
For
really
anything and just anything.
not just anything, girl. Like, we want him to be God-fearing. Like I think for me, I need security in a sense where I every day when I leave the house, I'm a leader, right? I lead so many things. I want to come home and be like, babe, can I cook for you some fufu? Like, I want to be almost out of my element because I feel so safe at home. I feel so safe in the relationship that I could be like very girly. I'm saying a little bit too much, but I know he's watching. But yes, long story short, yes, she's single. And, we still have enough time before the year ends. My Christmas list is not that long. So if you date me right now, you're not going to have to buy me like a lot of things for Christmas. I'll be reasonable because we only have 28 days.
Thank you all for joining. Joel. Joel, really? But honestly, um thank you so much, baby girl. You have been amazing. I am always inspired by you. I tell you this all the time. Anytime we get to talk, I am blown away as to how very strategic you are, very determined you are. This girl, she's very young, girl. She's not that grown. She's very, very young. I was looking to see you on
That's the
the
girl who's only 1 year older than me.
anyways, she's very young, but she's doing amazing things. And it's so inspiring to see young people doing great things like you are doing. Um, in a dispensation where many young people are looked down on and we are seen as unserious and, just social media people and so on. But we see people like you who are doing great and amazing work. And I just want to give you your flowers and say thank you for the impact you're making in the lives of many Black young women and girls, especially in the Hamilton area. One of my baby girls is with you, Makita, and I see how you have trained and groomed and nurtured her into who she is today. So I wanted to say thank you. Keep being fearless. As a leader myself, I know it's not easy.
Yeah.
I know the burden you carry. I know it's very weighty, but just understand that you're called for this. You're skilled for it. Many of us are looking up to you. If for anything else, even if there comes a time where you want to give up, just know that there are many people looking up to you that you cannot afford to drop the ball.
Girl, now you just made me more scared, but okay,
No,
keep
no,
pouring.
no. Sometimes you need that fear, you need that. But don't drop the ball. Just keep your head up. And we're all looking up to you and we're so inspired by you. Good job. Good
Thank you
job.
so much.
And
Honestly,
I love you so much.
likewise, girl, and I appreciate you giving me the platform to share. I mean, I hope I said something to somebody that is going to help them as they navigate whatever journey is. And I'm very accessible as well. Like, feel free to message me, to send me a message, whatever that might look like to support you. I'm
Mm.
very happy to always share a little bit of what I've learned.
Thank you so much. And I think one thing I love about you is how like you're always willing to help and share. So keep that up.
Course.
Thank you.
And I think the biggest thing for anybody to understand when you're doing this work is what's yours will always be yours, right? So
Mm.
even if you and I are doing the same thing, you will
Mm.
not threaten me because I know that what God has for you is completely different than what God has for me. And if there's any way that I could pour into you and it not compromise,
Mm.
it is what it is, right? Because I feel like for me, I'm like, oh, if I don't pour, God is going to take, you know what I mean? So
Mm.
always
Mm.
walking with that belief that like honestly, what's for you is always going to be for you and you do not lose anything. You're not now going to go tell them all your business, but you don't lose anything by extending a hand out to somebody.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
I appreciate you.
everyone.
We have a date, so
We
we're
do.
gonna we're gonna talk more.
Yes, yes.
But
I'm
yes,
excited.
thank you all so much for making the time. and coming to this wonderful discussion with Joel Kabisoso. It's been great. I have learned a lot myself, especially as a new leader, navigating a not for profit organization. As Nanaya has also done, when you look in the chat box, we have Joel's website, her organization website. This discussion was also showcased and live streamed on YouTube. So you feel free to go back, watch it, and watch it again, like I will, because I think there are a lot of gems that Joelle dropped that I'm going to learn from her as well. Joelle is literally an open book. Feel free to reach out to her, especially if you want to start an organization, start a business. I'm telling you, she's your go-to girl. She's been able to build. I feel like even though the funding she was talking about, she was just downplaying it. This girl, she they get a lot of she's your girl. So please reach out to her. She's placed. I know Joelle. Joelle is clocking like $5 million a year. What are you talking about? So please reach out to her email. And if you have any questions, please feel free to mention that you met her on the woman within series discussion and you want to reach out to her. If you also have a brother who is single, please feel free to connect them to Joelle, because right now we need to get her a very wise good man. Hallelujah. But thank you all so much. You can always rewatch this on YouTube, and don't forget, keep being amazing. We love you all. Have a very, very wonderful week. God bless you.